Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting adventure at the Hub World. Today's quest will have us covering the topic of the Wii U Essentials. My name is Jules, and today our other party members are.
Matteo?
Gino.
Whether you're joining our adventure from YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, be sure to give us a like or a follow. Before we get to the main topic, we're going to start with an icebreaker from the Hub Hat.
If you guys want to contribute to future icebreakers that we do, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll add them to our ever expanding list of quick topics that we can talk about. I think it'll be a great way for the community to be involved. So if you have one, just by all means, send it to us in the comments and we will add it.
Agreed. Just to kind of add on to that, like this is something that we've done icebreakers before. We haven't really mentioned the Hub Hat. It's something we're trying new. This is kind of our bonus game to start off every episode now. And we're going to be pulling this list of icebreakers that everybody at the Hub has contributed to from the Hub Hat. But yeah, like Matteo said, if you contribute through comments, we will throw your requests for bonus game questions into our Hub Hat, and you might hear your question answered. And in fact, I wouldn't mind prioritizing questions that come from our viewers. So, like throw a comment into any of our videos, and we'll throw it into the Hub Hat. But yeah, just so our bonus game question today is drawing from the Hub Hat. Which canceled video game did you want the most? And anybody can start that off.
I think I'll start off with this one here, actually, just because I really was excited by the idea of Star Wars 1313 when that was announced. You guys remember that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The game was centered around a bounty hunter and their quest to basically just like gain notoriety and fame and going around Coruscant at the lower levels and just slowly become a better bounty hunter and everything. And I think it turned out that like the bounty hunter we would have later found out was Boba Fett. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. It was a Boba Fett
It
game,
was,
right?
yes, it was a Boba Fett game.
Right. That would have been so cool.
Jules, you can go first.
I feel like I don't care that much about most canceled games, but I guess just because I'm a big Zelda guy. It wasn't really canceled, but it was more like repurposed. But I would have loved to play what was originally, I believe it was called Oracle of, what was it? The third Oracle game. Was it called Seeds of Courage or
The Seed of Courage or
the
something
Seed of Courage? Something along those lines. There was anyway, when they were developing the Oracle of Ages and Seasons, there was a third game that would have focused on Furore. I'm a Zelda guy. I want more Zelda, and Oracle of Ages is my favorite 2D Zelda game. Mind you, Oracle Seasons is my least favorite 2D Zelda game, but I would have liked to see where the third one would have fallen. So I guess I would have liked to see what that game would have been like. Like, how would they have differentiated from Ages and Seasons? Like, what would have been the like Ages or Seasons mechanic in that one? Like, I'm just curious. Like, a canceled Zelda game, like, throw it at me.
I thought you were going to talk about that retro like chic game, like they were kicking around there in the.
I was never super interested in that, but no, what? Now that you mentioned retro, wasn't there like a Kid Icarus retro game at one point that was like super edgy? That was like Pit was a fallen angel.
I think it was Factor 5, the guys that did Star Wars Rogue Squadron games. That was like the failed Kid Icarus reboot that was on the Wii. But yeah, the reason I was like, yeah, you go first because I was trying to think of one. But what type of Rare fan would I be if I didn't say Donkey Kong Racing? I think the most infamous canceled Nintendo game that at least I can think of. That game was the back of the GameCube box if you bought a launch GameCube because they were pushing and that was going to be one of the big games that Rare was going to be making on the beginning of the GameCube. We had a trailer for it. I think it was at Space World or something where it was like all the DK characters riding on the animal buddies. I think Taj from Diddy Kong Racing was there as well. It was going to be a sequel to Diddy Kong Racing basically. And it got repurposed into Saberman Stampede on Xbox when Microsoft bought Rare. And then that game also got canceled. So that game is officially dead. Like I don't think it was repurposed into anything. But Banjo could have been in that game potentially. It was pretty sad. Like one of the old articles that we were gonna write in the original incarnation of the Hub World was what were the darkest moments in video games. And when Microsoft bought Rare, like that was truly one of those. And Donkey Kong Racing could have been something really special, and we'll just never know.
Teo, I'm surprised you didn't say Banjo 3 Or was that never like official?
It is nuts and bolts.
But I mean, like a traditional Banjo-Kazooie. Like Nuts and Bolts is a great game, but it's not a good Banjo-Kazooie game.
I think Banjo 3E as it existed was always nuts and
Yeah.
bolts.
But there was that one clip where like we saw like Banjo riding like on Kazooie's back, like doing the Talon Trot, running away, and there's like a bunch of the N64 characters
That was
chasing
just
him.
a tech demo, though, or like a
Yeah.
showcase of like the GameCube can handle all these characters running around.
In any case, so we'll move on from our bonus game into our fetch quests. So the first thing of our fetch quests that we have to talk about is what is this stuff we've been talking about? Bonus game, fetch quests. We said party members at the beginning. Like, there's a lot going on. So we want to address this. So the Hub World podcast now has been running for almost 40 episodes. If you've looked at our YouTube channel recently, there's been a lot of new content, both in Let's Plays and videos, randomizers. We've been collaborating a lot with Cosmosis. And basically, what we're doing is we're not really rebranding, but when we started the podcast, we didn't really know what it was going to look like. We just kind of did it for fun. Whereas now, like, we've been doing it for long enough that we really want to see our vision come to life. So we're going to start having more of a structure with every podcast. We're really going to dive into our Hub World name, and everything is gaming themed. You know, like our party members are who's going to be part of the podcast. Our bonus game is going to be our icebreaker every single episode. We're going to have one of those. And our fetch quest is a segment that we're going to do before the main topic, where we're just going to tell you a bit about like either news that has just popped up, things that we're playing or doing, and just something like a catch up, just to kind of like talk or tell you any news like we are now. So just so you know. So anyway, we can move into the main fetch quest kind of like discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to share with anybody? Any news you're excited about? Any games you've been playing? Like anything just short and brief that you want to say?
Looking forward to going into Animal Crossing because the newest Animal Crossing update came out. So the day we're recording this podcast, 2 days before it should have. So I was planning on going to Animal Crossing in a few days, but now I got to do it now. And then also, there's some Banjo-Kazooie related news. Grant Kirkhope, the composer of Banjo-Kazooie, released his new, like, I think it's called Banjo-Kazooie Rejiggied. It's a Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack where he has played around with almost every song except Clanker's Cavern, I think. And it's fantastic. I listened to the whole thing and it was just a whirlwind of emotions for me listening to that. The Spiral Mountain track is fantastic. And I was speechless when I listened to it. Like, it was so moving because this is all we get as Banjo-Kazooie fans now. We get merchandise or we get stuff like this where it's not the announcement we want, but this is still a fantastic thing for the fans to have. It is what it is, but I highly suggest listening to it. It's fantastic.
We should also let everybody know that very recently, as of recording this episode, Mario Party Superstars just released. At least I'm probably speaking for everybody here when I say this, but I'm pretty sure we all love it at the Hub World. It's fantastic. Like, it's like the best Mario Party, in my opinion. Definitely since the GameCube, possibly since the N64.
We got something special planned for that, so keep your eyes peeled on our YouTube channel. If you're already here on YouTube, keep your eyes peeled for the next few days.
Yeah, definitely keep your eye out. We got some stuff. Moments before we started this podcast, in addition to Animal Crossing being released, I also delivered a very special gift to both Matteo and Gino that I ordered on the day that Sora was announced in Smash Bros. So just to give you some context, we're all big Smash fans, as you probably know if you follow our content. When Smash Bros. Ultimate got announced, we did something like a Smash draft to see which characters we thought were going to be in the game, and that ended up going on way longer than we anticipated because of all the DLC. The other thing that went on way longer than anticipated because of the DLC is we had always said since the beginning, since they first showed off the first iteration of the Super Smash Bros. Banner, that we were all going to buy the banner, a version of the banner when it finished, but we've had to wait because they've been adding more and more characters. So the day Sora dropped, I went on Etsy and I found a really high quality Smash Bros. Banner.
It is fantastic. Thank you again, Jules.
No problem. Any other Fetch Quest stuff either of you guys want to mention?
Keep your eyes peeled on the channel. I literally was late to recording today because I uploaded a Animal Crossing update is live now, go download it video. So it's like one of those like quick 1 minute YouTube videos where you can just like check it out. It's like a quick thing of news. I posted that. That's why we're late today. Sorry, I do apologize, Jules and Matteo.
Okay. No worries.
But yeah, Adriano's randomizers can keep going. Gino, I think is still going to be doing The Hub World Ends With You. We still have this Metroid podcast we want to record. And then obviously, because we're talking about Wii U today, the next one is going to be 3DS naturally. So,
Hey, kids, I think that's kind of our time for fetch quests, and I don't think there's anything else major. There wasn't really a lot of
yeah.
news. So we're gonna move on to our main quest, which is the Wii U Essentials. So just to give everybody a reminder of what the Essential Games is, as well as a little bit of a special disclaimer about this episode is, so we haven't done an Essentials episode in a little while. Now, typically what we do with the Essentials is we look at the library from a system, and we decide what are the 5 most essential games. And one of the things we usually look at is, well, we're trying to recommend games that people can go play on that system now. Now, unfortunately, the thing with the Wii U is it's a very interesting system because it was kind of a transitionary system for Nintendo. It was a system that did not perform very well, and more than 80%, I would say that's a statistic that I'm pulling out of my butt right now, but a lot of its first party games were actually ported to the Switch, and not just ports but like enhanced ports with extra content and things. So it's very difficult for us to look at this system and be like, go back and play these games, because there's so few that are actually still either relevant or they hold the best versions or whatever. So for the Wii U, we decided this Essentials is going to function differently. We want you to imagine you are taking a time machine back to 2016, 2017, like end of Wii U's era, and we're going to look at the Wii U as what were its 5 most essential games at the time that the generation ended. Not
Yeah.
now, because now if we were to look at it that way, with how many things we would have to omit because the better versions exist on other systems, as well as some games just having sequels or other entries in the series that have taken the original concept like further. We just feel like in order to do the Wii U justice, we need to set that boundary of, you might not be able to go back and play these games and have those experiences now, but these are the games we do think were essential to the Wii U experience. So that's what we're going to do. As always, we're going to nominate a bunch of games from the shortlist. We're going to deliberate the 5. I don't anticipate this one's going to take long, to be honest, because I don't think we're going to have a big shortlist, and I honestly don't think we're going to disagree on the finalists. So we can just get to it. I'll make the first nomination if that's okay. I'm going to start with what I would consider to be one of the most essential Wii U games. Even now, it literally is Wii U. Like, I can't imagine Wii U without this game, which is Nintendo Land. It was the first game, it came with the Wii U, and genuinely, I don't think there was a single Wii U game that came after Nintendo Land that used the gimmick of the system better than Nintendo Land. And that's kind of sad, honestly, but it's also a testament to how Nintendo Land utilized the gamepad and the screen gameplay. And the party games were just so good.
Even to today, like they've aged so well.
And it's so interesting because, like, when you like get together with friends, you're like, oh, like, let's play a party game, and there's like Mario Party or Mario Kart, like those kinds of games. I still have times where like I invite friends over and they're like, do you have Nintendo Land? And it's like, and I'm always down for Nintendo Land when people suggest it, because like the Mario tag game and the Luigi's Matching Ghost game are just so good as concepts, and they work so well in a group. Like the Animal Crossing game is also really fun, and then some of the co-op ones too, like the Zelda one, as well as the like tournament style mode that comes at the end, where you can even face off in some of the like other games, like the Donkey Kong one. And I remember having a blast with that game, even with my dad. Like my dad was obsessed with the Donkey Kong one, where you had to tilt the gamepad and like try to get as far as you could to the bottom. Like,
Yeah, that was a good one.
Donkey Kong, whatever it was called, was my favorite game on Nintendo
of
Land.
course, yeah, it's such a celebration, like, for Nintendo fans, and that's what I look at. Like, I feel like it represents the Wii U, because as much as the Wii U did not perform well, as much as the Wii U's library now is a little bit outdated and surpassed by kind of what's happening with the Switch, I do genuinely feel like the Wii U was built as a system for Nintendo fans. Like there was a lot of games that were developed on that system that were for core Nintendo fans, and maybe that's why it didn't have a vast appeal. I'm sure the name didn't help in the kind of half-assed gimmick, but Nintendo Land was like a very good representation of what Nintendo's approach was to the Wii U, which is like, this is a system for our fans. Nintendo Land really felt like an acknowledgement of who the Nintendo fans are and like how much the IP matter. So like I really like Nintendo Land. I think Nintendo Land, like I'm gonna say this right now before we even get to the deliberating, like Nintendo Land, like in my opinion, is like, if we were gonna say the one essential game on Wii U, it would be Nintendo Land.
Oh yeah, I am.
100%. Obviously, we all had Nintendo Land on our list. I wanted to speak about just a little bit more. I loved the getting the collectibles and just having your main plaza filled with all these Nintendo Easter eggs and the music on the jukebox that you could play, like you could play all the different songs there. The art style as well, like I liked how like everything looked handmade, kind of like it
Toy
had that.
box aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. It was a fantastic art style. Yeah, some of the single player games were not great, like the Game and Watch one and the F-Zero one, but other than that, I'd say like all the other games were definitely worth playing. They were really, and the Yoshi one sucked too. But Nintendo Land, like that is one of the seminal multiplayer games of the last at least 10 years that Nintendo's ever made. Like that's one of the greatest ones. I really want them to port it on Switch, but I just don't know how it would be possible. You wouldn't be able to translate that experience, especially for Luigi's Mansion, Mario, and for the Animal Crossing games. It's that little time capsule that's left on the Wii U. It's like one of few games that's remaining that hasn't been ported. They should make another Nintendo Land.
I agree that you make a sequel to Nintendo Land. Like,
We always wanted a Nintendo theme park, and before Super Nintendo World, that was the closest thing we were gonna get.
but the thing is, like, in my opinion, the Joy-Con have enough versatility that they could easily make a sequel to Nintendo Land that would be just as unique in different ways. But they
Instead,
could.
we got 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's move on. Matteo, do you have a nomination?
Yes, so Nintendo Land was the really only obvious choice. My first choice for an essential Wii U game of the time would be Super Mario Maker. Unfortunately, you cannot really play Super Mario Maker in the way that it was intended to, because I think the servers have been shut down for that game now. But for my money, Super Mario Maker 1 in its prime was better than Super Mario Maker 2 is. And the reason why I say that is, first of all, Nintendo's updates for that game were way more frequent and they were more creative, I found. Also, another huge thing is they actually utilized the amiibos in probably the best way Nintendo ever has. And they had the 8-bit or 16-bit versions of your amiibo characters scanned into the game, and you could play as those characters. And they all had their cool little taunts or whatever. And you could actually make a Link level. You could make a Samus level. You could make a Waluigi level. And we had fun doing that. And then in Super Mario Maker 2, not to crap on it too much, but they didn't have any of those Mystery Mario costumes come back. And it just didn't have that zany wackiness that the original Mario Maker had, where you had like Long Mario or stuff like that. And that was like the 30th anniversary game for the Mario series. And it was a celebration of the whole series. It was the first time we could ever customize your own and create your own Mario levels. And the online community of that game was fantastic. You could share your levels with people. You could download people's levels. And now today you can't really experience that, but it was one of the very, very few really bright, shining moments of like, okay, this is what this gamepad could do. Using the touch controls on the gamepad was way more convenient than using a controller for Mario Maker 2.
Yes.
There's a lot of good quality of life features that the gamepad offered to the building experience that you couldn't recapture with Joy-Cons. It just didn't work.
I love Mario Maker. Like I'm a big creative and I love it. And I do think Super Mario Maker 2 like objectively is better for making Mario games, but you're right, like there's something about the original and that charm that just like put it over the top. And I remember us having this discussion back in, what was it, 2015 that came out? What year
Yep.
was it? 2015. I remember this very clearly. I remember none of us were excited for that game when it was announced. We were like, oh, okay, like we'll get it, it's cool, but like whatever. And the second they showed off the mystery mushrooms, the entire hype cycle for that game
Yeah.
shifted dramatically. Like completely. Like that game was the mystery mushrooms. And I feel like removing the mystery mushrooms in the second game, I understand why they did it, but I think it just lost something because like that was such a massive feature. I do think like I do want to believe that the reason they removed it is because the mystery mushrooms were such an enticing feature that there was just like an over excess of games made in the Super Mario 1 style as a result, and they wanted to like balance the other ones and make them more appealing, so they removed the mystery mushrooms. Now I'm getting like nostalgic. I want to go back and I want to play some of the courses I made like on Super Mario Maker 1, because I made courses around Smash characters. Like I had ones that were called like, I can't remember what they're called. I think they were called like Super Smash Land or whatever, and they were like these marathons of doing different tasks based around whoever the mystery mushroom character was in that segment of the level, and they were really fun, and I had such a blast like not only designing the levels but like thinking of creative ways to like, okay, how would I make something that's reminiscent of Pikmin in Mario, or how would I make something that works as like something that would be reminiscent of Star Fox in Mario, like, and it was so cool doing that. And like I remember making a Wolf Link level where it was like a Zelda dungeon, and like I had such a blast with that. I do think inherently the second one will never have that appeal. Like not just because of the mystery mushroom, but because it wasn't the first of its kind. Like that game was such an experience.
The mystery mushrooms weren't even just tied to amiibo though. Like they had like random characters you could play as Mario in his Mario Kart.
Tetra and like
Foreman Spike,
Waluigi,
Badge Center Rabbit.
you could unlock them in the game, and so that gave incentive to continue to play the game and try to unlock those costumes, because it's like that's fun, like that's a blast. And it's almost like they would have been better off, I almost feel. Super Mario Maker 1 was only Super Mario Bros 1, and they had the mystery mushrooms, and then in Super Mario Maker 2 the big selling point was adding in the other games. But yeah, no, it was such a blast, Super Mario Maker. Like I agree with you. Like it's not really an experience you can relive now to its fullest potential, but it was such a unique experience when it came out, and like such a surprise hit. It was one of the two sleeper titles that showed up at the end of Switch's lifespan that were like completely blew everybody out of the water. I'm sure the other ones can get mentioned soon, if not by Gino, by me probably.
Actually, I want to go out on a limb here and do something a little bit different with my choice. So, like, okay, when we got Mario Kart 8, that was a proper, like, Mario Kart game that launched in 2014. And, like, here we are with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch that has all the DLC and everything for it. And that was just included as part of the base game. But when that first DLC pack was announced and we got, like, the Blue Falcon and Big Blue and, like, all of those, like, first Nintendo courses and stuff, I remember sitting down and having a conversation with you guys. And we were like, yo, what about, like, how hype is this? We're getting, like, some F-Zero love. They're testing out some stuff for it. Or, like, hey, does this lead to, like, Super Smash Kart? And things like that, and it was just like this big deal. And then eventually in like the later pack we got like the Animal Crossing course, the Zelda course, the Link and the Master Cycle came in, and like the Animal Crossing stuff was in there with the villagers, and we're like, oh, it's Super Smash Kart, where's Kirby? So yeah, the DLC for Mario Kart 8 when those were announced, I you know what, I'll just put Mario Kart 8 as like the complete package with the DLCs and everything, because like that was just like a fantastic game. Seeing everything come out was almost as good as watching those early Smash trailers for Smash 4. Not exactly where you were going with that, huh, Jules?
Mario Kart 8 was on my list. Like it definitely should be said. Like Mario Kart 8, like I've been very transparent about my Mario Kart opinions, and like I genuinely think people should not be allowed to have the opinion that any other Mario Kart is the best Mario Kart. Because Mario Kart 8 is objectively the peak of the series. Like no, hands down, like I think Mario Kart almost always gets better with every single game, and Mario Kart 8 is like, especially after the DLC, is like literally the best Mario Kart game.
And it's still like arguably one of the best looking games Nintendo's ever made.
And it's
Yep.
about those
So-
moments too. Like I think Wii U, like I was saying, is like about, I really think it was a system for the fans because there was a lot of big moments. There was a lot of moments, and it's like you can't go back and relive those moments exactly. But like Link being in a Mario Kart game, that day they announced that Link would be a DLC character in Mario Kart was massive. That was so insane. Like something nobody would have ever expected would ever happen in Mario Kart. And it was like opening this massive like
Can of worms.
yeah, the can of worms or Pandora's box for like what to expect in the next Mario Kart game now. But like such a breath of fresh air because like we're getting to the point where like every Mario newcomer character was either a baby, a Koopaling, or a random enemy, and it's like you're gonna run out of those random enemies, and where's your characters that people are gonna care about? And like somebody like Link is like that's huge, right? Like it's so cool to see that, so refreshing. And the courses in Mario Kart 8 are just like really well designed. Some of the best courses in the series, and they chose the best courses to redo.
Except they ruined Rainbow Road 64, but I can forgive them for that.
The Rainbow Road 64, I still say, is great. You got the hype train, you got everything, but there should have been a mode where you can turn on 3 laps and have that 15-minute race.
It was too long in Mario Kart 64, but the game speed and the size of the characters and all that in Mario Kart 8,
It would have been fine.
it wouldn't even have been a really long race, even if you had what you had, but done 3 laps. Wouldn't have been that long. Mario Kart 8 is a solid pick, though. I personally didn't have it on mine because I would rather have it on a Switch list, but that is a conversation for another day.
You know what? I'm not going to say the other sleeper one because I don't think I should be the one saying it. I think Matteo deserves to say that, so I'm going to go with a different one. I'm going to say, I don't know if this is going to make the final list, but I think it deserves to be mentioned because, again, it's about these moments for me for Wii U. And this was a big one for me, and I genuinely love this game. Hyrule Warriors is so good and such a love letter to Zelda fans. And the plot is so stupid and so over the top and ridiculous, but like the amount of stuff they gave us in that game. Like I remember when they announced it and they just showed Link taking out like hundreds of bokoblins. That was already cool. And then they announced that you can play as characters like Impa and Zelda, and that was nuts. And then I remember the first E3 where they showed Midna, and I was just like, what? Like this is insane. And then the roster just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger with characters that you would have never expected. Darunia, Ruto, and then the DLC just opened it up even more with like the young Link, and you start to get characters from like Link Between Worlds, and you got like Marin from Link's Awakening. Like there were so many cool characters in that game, and there was so much bloody content. I don't care if it was repetitive. Like there were so many Easter eggs, so many references. Such a fun experience as a Zelda fan, and to play that all co-op was such a blast. I really love Hyrule Warriors. I still, on occasion when I'm bored, will pick it up and play it. And I know it's been ported a million times now, but I still think it's worth mentioning it here because this is where it started.
Did you mention the DLC when Wind Waker and everything came out, right?
That was the nice thing about it. It's like they ported it to 3, so it had 3 waves of DLC. And then they ported it to the new 3DS XL, which I bought a new 3DS XL just for that game to replay it. But what was cool was then they did DLC on the new 3DS version, and all the DLC they added in the new 3DS version, they also added to the Wii U version. That game was supported for like literally like 3 years. Because it was like 3 DLC packs, then a crossover thing with the 3DS where you got all the new characters that were added in the 3DS, and then the 3DS got DLC, and you could get the DLC from the 3DS DLC onto the Wii U. So it was like there was a lot of content. Like that game was supported for a long time, and it had great roster choices, unlike this god awful Age of Calamity DLC, which this is a separate topic. Completely, I'm not going to get into it, but I don't know how they go from Hyrule Warriors 1 DLC to Age of Calamity DLC. Like, I can't believe the same people were behind those 2 games. Age of Calamity is a fantastic game. The DLC, like, what a ripoff.
I feel bad for anyone who bought that. Yeah, just what you were saying earlier, Jules. I'm very happy that you deferred to talk about Splatoon because I was the only one that played Splatoon because no one else wanted to buy it to play with me.
Again, like when they announced Mario Maker and Splatoon, and I'm pretty sure they announced them at the same E3, I remember being so underwhelmed by both. I was like, what are these stupid games they're giving us? And like now look.
That was the general sentiment with Splatoon. A lot of people are like, what is this? Who is this for? Why is Nintendo doing this? And then they played it on the show floor, and Splatoon was like the standout game of the show. They're like, this game is fantastic. You need to play this. And then they did the test fire, I believe, for it. And then that's when whoever owned a Wii U, which was not very many people, got to play it, and it was fantastic. And I pre-ordered it online at Best Buy back when you could actually get discounts when you pre-ordered games. And I went to pick it up in the store, and I was the only one that apparently that did that. They had a wall of Splatoon 1, and they're like, yeah, you're the only one that bought this. And somehow it was Japan, I guess. Splatoon is a phenomenon in Japan. It's so popular, and that game, the gameplay loop is so fantastic. The games are so fast, they're so fun, and this is where it started. Like Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 are very similar games. It's just like different weapons, different abilities, different story, and like, but what is there is still really good. Technically, it's still a really good game that you can still play in the same way you experienced it back in 2015, but it has been one up, just like how we say like Smash Bros and Mario Kart's been one up. The newest entry will always be the best for Splatoon, and Splatoon is Nintendo's most successful new IP since Animal Crossing. So I can't speak more of it, like any more about it. Like it's so good. Splatoon 3 is coming out. I can't wait. So
It started on the Wii U, so like it needs to be
yeah,
mentioned. Like
it's like one of the few really like bright spots for the system.
this is the way I hold Splatoon, okay? And I promise you, I mean this with all the love in the world. To me, it's like Ocarina of Time. It's clearly been surpassed in its series, but it's stupid to talk about the series without mentioning it because it's such an integral point. Like you can't talk about Splatoon without talking about Splatoon 1. It is the start of something, the same way that Ocarina of Time is like the start of modern Zelda. And it will always be relevant, regardless of like that's the thing is Splatoon 2 will eventually become irrelevant because Splatoon 3 will be better, but there will always be a reason to talk about Splatoon 1 because it will always be the first and it will always be the thing that started it.
I don't know about that because Splatoon 2 has the Octo expansion, which is phenomenal.
It's true, it is very good.
But I don't like the comparison to Ocarina of Time because Ocarina of Time is still
Still a better game.
yeah, still a phenomenal game.
As the Splatoon 1.
I would never go back to playing Splatoon 1, but I would go back to play Ocarina of Time. In fact, I am playing it right now.
Fair enough. Gino, do you got another?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Pikmin 3 actually. And like again, like this is another one of those games that does have a re-release. I would argue that Pikmin 3 Deluxe is missing something that something that is absolutely integral to the original Pikmin 3 experience, and that's the cope pad. So the Switch doesn't have that asymmetric gameplay and the controls and stuff that the original Pikmin 3 does because like your Switch is docked and you're going to be using a Pro controller and stuff. So like flipping back and forth between menus and things, I found it a little annoying when I could just like look down at the gamepad and be like, oh, here's exactly the stuff that I wanted in the first place, right? So I find that the co-pad gameplay from Pikmin 3 definitely a lot better, and it was just fun, and it was like the first time we got like a brand new Pikmin game in such a long time. And we were always used to like, okay, we have to go back and play the new play controls of Pikmin 1 and 2, and like they've been talking about this game for a really long time, but there was no new game in the series until Pikmin 3 came out. So
That will be
I don't know.
Pikmin 4 as well. We've reached a
Yeah.
point where Pikmin 4 has been talked about more than Pikmin 3 was. Like it was like right after Pikmin 3 release.
I don't know if it's been talked about more, but it's just been a really long time since we've heard anything about it, right? It's
Yeah.
not like with Pikmin 3. Like Pikmin 3 was supposed to be on the Wii, I believe, and then it was like, okay, it's coming to Wii U, and then Pikmin, like, do you guys remember in the 3DS when the 3DS first launched? It launched basically with nothing, and then the first big game that came out was Ocarina of Time 3D. Very similar release with the Wii U, where like, okay, yeah, we got Nintendo Land and we got another new Super Mario Bros. Game at launch. Pikmin 3 was supposed to launch with the Wii U, I believe, and it
Yeah,
got
it was.
delayed until the following year, and there was literally nothing between launch and Pikmin 3. And Pikmin 3 was the first big
Yep.
game that we could play on Wii U.
It was
Yep.
like Wii U launched in like November, and Pikmin 3, I think, came out in like August. It was like almost a full year.
I don't know if Pikmin was that late. I feel like Pikmin was like May or something, but
Maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe the new one was August, but yeah, it was something like that. It was like 6 months or like 8 months.
it was July. Oh, geez.
Oh, July. Yeah, there you go. Is it okay if we move on from Pikmin 3?
Yep.
So I have a few games left. I'll start with one that I know that neither of you guys have played, but I think it should be mentioned, which is Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2, in my opinion, is the best game in its series of only 2 games as of now. Third one coming. But it was, again, like, all about those moments. Like, Bayonetta 2 being announced on Wii U was a big deal. Like, it was a massive third-party grab for Nintendo on a system where there was barely any third-party support. Nintendo made a power move because they recognized that Bayonetta was a cult classic that was not going to be made unless somebody funded it. So they, made the decision to fund this game that was like completely outside of their demographic to try and pull in a new group of gamers into Nintendo. And the game was really good. Like, it was really well made. It was very true to its original kind of like design. They didn't dumb it down or Nintendo-fy it. Like, Nintendo just funded it and they were like, do like what you did and like have fun with it. And then Bayonetta as a character kind of blew up because they decided to throw her into Smash after. And like now you have Bayonetta 3 is this massively like anticipated game on Switch. I remember when Bayonetta came out because I remember it came out the exact same month that Darksiders 1 came out. Because I remember following both of those games and being like, I want to get one of these. And I ultimately went with Darksiders over Bayonetta. But I was aware of what it was, but it didn't sell great. Like, it got great reviews, but was not super popular. And like the fact that Nintendo saw that potential and then like doubled down into it and now built that series to kind of be Bayonetta is almost associated with Nintendo at this point, which is kind of weird because she's like very outside of Nintendo's image. And like it's a really good game and another one of those games that I feel like you need to mention because it was a big moment for that series and that character and for Nintendo. And on top of being like an exceptional game.
So, Jules, I have absolutely no like stake in Bayonetta whatsoever. I've never played any of the games. The Bayonetta 2 re-release on Switch, does that have new content that the Wii U version like didn't have, or is it just
No.
the same game?
Same game.
So there's not a definitively like better version of it out there.
No, not as far as I'm aware. Maybe they added some more like Nintendo costumes, but as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure it's the same.
Solid choice. I figured you would say that. So this is actually going to be my last nomination. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, but I will save those for obviously the honorable mentions. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I don't think Tropical Freeze is necessarily better on Switch. Yes, there's new funky mode. It's there for the memes. But it is exactly the same core experience you would have experienced on Wii U. When I reflect on it more and more, it is my favorite Donkey Kong Country game. It's a fantastic game. They brought David Wise back to do the score for that game after he wasn't in Donkey Kong Country Returns on Wii. And just like Riley and I literally marathon this game from beginning to end the day it came out, and we had such a fantastic time. Donkey Kong is more of a challenging 2D platformer, and like it came out in an era in which I just was so burnt out by 2D platformers, yet it was the only one I beat because I just think the level design in that game is fantastic. Yeah, the Snowmads are like just generic villains, and like I wish the Kremlings were in the game, but still, the whole idea that you have to go back to Donkey Kong Island is so fun, and like you even revisit some locations in Donkey Kong Country Returns game, and just that game is still among the greatest 2D platformers of all time. It's that good. Playing with friends is really fun as well. I really want to replay that game. I might pick it up on Switch, but I have the Wii U version. It's just as good. And if you haven't played it already, you should. It's a fantastic game. So Donkey Kong Country Returns is my final selection.
Gino, did you have a final nomination?
I have two, but I think they're more like along the lines of honorable mentions, and I wouldn't individually put these games as honorable mentions. I'd put them both together as a single honorable mention.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I do have a nomination. I had one nomination, and when you had said 2 games that you had, I realized I'm like, oh well, actually I do have two games because these games could kind of be grouped together in a sense, but they're actually they shouldn't be grouped together. But it made me realize that I think we all omitted something very, very big. So the first one I will nominate is Super Mario 3D World. Like, of course, it has been ported to Switch, and I don't think there's any denying that the Switch version is better. But again, like when we're looking at the Wii U, I don't think we should look at like the fact that there's been enhanced ports. And Super Mario 3D World, it was one of the earliest games on the system, and it still is like exceptionally like one of the best games on the system. It's incredible like what they did with Mario. And I remember it was like we saw that trailer for the game, and I know me and Riley had the opinion like, what is this crap? We wanted something like Mario 64. But then playing that game, holy crap. I'm going to go ahead and say this, and maybe it's a big claim, but I don't think there is a single co-op adventure game that I've ever had more fun with than Super Mario 3D World. And I kid you not, since that game released originally on the Wii U, I've probably played through it like 15 times. I love that game. It's fun to play by yourself. It's fun to play with others. I've played it so many times with my sisters. I've played it so many times with friends. Like you can play it competitively, you can be a troll, you can hurt each other, you can help each other. There's so
You
much
could be
variety. There's so much levels. There's challenge too. Like the post game is challenging, like very challenging. And like the fact that Rosalina was unlockable was such a surprise, especially because that was before she was in Smash. So that came like out of left field. Like holy, like Rosalina's playable in like adventure Mario game. Like I think that game was just done very, very well. And it makes me want them to make a sequel to that game. Like, I really love that style of game. So I do think that Super Mario 3D World should be mentioned here.
I definitely have held back nominations just because I'm like, oh my god, like it's hard for me to disconnect the ports. This is a time capsule type thing. I'm really trying. 3D World is a fantastic choice. Definitely the turning point for me with 3D World, because like I was with you and Riley there. Like I wasn't too hyped about it. We're wanting a sandbox 3D Mario that we did eventually get in Odyssey, but the turning point was at Nintendo Direct, I think it was, and Bowser came out of the jar and the music kicked in, and then we saw the game. Like Nintendo games often look a lot better the second time around when you see them, and 3D World is another one of those instances where like this game definitely looks better. They polished it up more. They have gone crazy. You saw the silhouette level similar to Donkey Kong Country. We saw the Mario Kart bit, like the Zelda bit. Like that trailer definitely built the hype for that game, for me at least. But yeah, 3D World is arguably the best game on the system, I would say.
And then the other one I'll just mention because it's kind of connected, which is the one I originally had on my list. And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't even have 3D World, which is where this game originated. But I genuinely believe that Captain Toad Treasure Tracker should be on this list. That game came out of no, like, those levels were so inspired in Super Mario 3D World. And the fact that Nintendo was like, these are so well designed, let's elaborate this character and this style into a full-blown game, and that it worked. That's like one of those games that like you will associate with Wii U because it's like one of those weird games that's like, why does this game exist? But it's really good. I really love Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It's such a fun little puzzle game. It's so different than Mario. But it's so good. Like it's so fun.
That Captain Toad theme song, man. It's
Oh,
so good.
I honestly completely forgot about Cappy T.
And the way that
How
they
dare you, Gino?
structure it too, like I remember it being such a big surprise that it's like you start off like playing as Captain Toad, but then like partway through the game, Captain Toad disappears and you have to play as Toadette
Yep.
for a portion. Then you go back to Captain Toad, and like it was really well done. And like I remember when it launched, it was a reduced price game. It was a cheaper game, but it had like way more content than you would expect from a game like that. And it was just very, very well done. Like I was very impressed. I did not want to buy it. I remember when they announced it, I was like, why are they wasting time on this game? Again, that seems to be a trend with Wii U, is like they announce a lot of games that's like, why are you doing this? And then you play them and you're like, oh my God, like Nintendo
Really
knows
good.
what they're doing. And I think that's the thing with Wii U is like, I think Wii U was a constant trust issue. It was like Nintendo doing things that they wanted to do that weren't exactly what people were asking for, but then the game slapped anyway. And so a lot of people missed out on them because they're like, they judged them and then never played them. Whereas like we gave them those shots. And we know that Wii U, had they not ported like more than half of its library to Switch, and they had just not ported anything, I would say Wii U had like one of the better Nintendo libraries. Like it had like so many like really, really good games. Like, and sure, it's not like there wasn't like 20 or 30 of them, but like there was a dozen that were like stellar. And those are the ones that we've said here, right? Like these are like stellar, like nothing you would have expected sort of games, very big surprises, not something people were necessarily asking for, but like, guess what? People are going to ask for these games now because Wii U did a good job establishing new stuff.
Yeah, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was the game that, the other one that I was going to say. Jules, did you have another one or no?
I just remembered one that, Matteo, you spent a lot of time in this game, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if you played it on the Wii U or if you played it on where this game got ported, but I'm going to go out and say Rayman Legends.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That game.
It started off as a Wii U game,
Yeah,
and then I think Matteo played through it on Xbox One. And he's
Yeah,
like,
because it was a game
"Holy
with
crap, this
gold."
game is great. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a great nomination. You're right.
Yeah.
That was like an exclusive to Wii U for a while, and it was such a good game.
Wasn't there a controversy around Rayman Legends and the exclusivity? Didn't like Ubisoft
Yes.
dropped it?
Yeah, Ubisoft dropped exclusivity, even though they said it was going to be exclusive. There was a big controversy around it.
That's the thing, though, right? Because like I didn't really spend a lot of time on the Wii U myself. Like the only time I spent time playing the Wii U, I think, was to play Breath of the Wild, because Matteo was too busy hogging the Switch. So I had our Wii U copy of it, and I was playing it there with the slightly longer load times and the one that was eventually cracked, so everyone could play it on an emulator. No, we're not doing a Kotaku thing and telling you to go like go emulate games and anything, but yeah, I played through Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and honestly, it wasn't bad. But like, this was a generation I just kind of like stayed away from it. Not for anything. It's just like the Wii U didn't really have a lot of titles that gripped me, so I was having a bit
That's
of like
fair.
a hard time.
That's
Like
okay.
contributing.
Well, do you want me to? Why don't we transition into the deliberation? I don't think the deliberation will take long.
Well, we have honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yes,
honorable
honorable
mentions I
mention.
was gonna make were the Zelda HD games. I wanted to count them in as two games, like instead of having like each one separate, like Wind Waker and Twilight a separate thing. I kind of want to like group them in together because they kind of fill the same niche, scratch the same itch. So you don't have to hook up your GameCube, you don't have to hook up your Wii to play these games. They're in HD form. Wind Waker got the Swift Sail, and making the Triforce quest a lot less tedious, I find, as well as Twilight Princess added the hero mode so the game can be a lot harder. And they added the amiibo support with Ganon amiibo, and it came with the Wolf Link amiibo also. I can't remember what Wolf Link did exactly.
Wolflink added a like a Pit of 100 Trials, but just for Wolflink.
Okay, and then because I remember there was the hero version of that, like the one for like regular Link, not Wolf Link,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, for the fairy tears. Anyway, tangents. But the way I played through Twilight Princess is what I called Ganon mode. So I played the game in hero mode, which doubled
Ganon.
Yeah.
So it's 4 times.
Yeah, so instead of double damage, it does 4 times damage. Basically,
Yes.
everything was a one hit.
Yeah, that was a fun way to play.
It was really fun, but it was also very frustrating.
It was, but it was so good. It was so refreshing to play through Twilight Princess and not
like not
like
having
and
the game be like super easy,
like stupid easy, especially considering like most Zelda games are like at least somewhat difficult. Like not super difficult, but at least there's some enemies that are like, okay, I got to be a bit cautious. They could 1-shot me or 2-shot me. But like Twilight Princess, considering how dark it was always weird that it was like the stupid easy game.
Yeah, but I think that had to do with the fact that it was on Wii. They wanted to make it a super like casual experience.
Yes, but it's just what I mean is like it's nice to play a version of Twilight Princess where the incredibly well designed, terrifying boss monsters that they've created actually hurt you when they hit you. So you know when you're fighting Morpheal, who's like a massively intimidating giant eel, instead of dealing half a heart of damage, deals like 4 hearts of damage. You know, that makes more sense. That Link would get hurt by something that's like 1,000 times his own body
Nice.
mass, like, but anyway, tangent aside, those
But yeah.
those were refreshing to play on Wii U.
Yes,
Yep.
and the thing I really liked though, like Wind Waker felt like a massive upgrade just because like the visuals, the skies in that game are phenomenal. The water in that game looks so good. Twilight Princess, it didn't feel like it was given as spectacular of a treatment, but both games are phenomenal. And like Wind Waker is just particularly exceptional. I really want to play those games again, but can't Nintendo just port them to Switch and just
I think they will.
they have to. Like, oh my
I
god,
think
those
they
games
will.
are just too good to leave on Wii U.
They will. But do you have any honorable mentions, Matteo?
Actually, I think I have. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. So, Yoshi's Woolly World. That game is just a nice, relaxing, chill, mellow, cute 2D platformer. It's no Yoshi's Island, but it's still probably the second best Yoshi game, I'd say.
Yep, I agree.
I love the craft aesthetic and everything's like handmade. Even like the environments are like cardboard and string and stuff like that. Like it's really visually stunning. And then the amiibo functionality, getting like all the yarn Yoshi versions of like Sheik, Sonic. You can have like all these characters that you have amiibos for, and I have a very big amiibo collection. So like I've anything that could justify the money I've put into amiibos is always nice. So Yoshi's Woolly World is one of them. Another one, and I think I'll get a lot of what really for this is Star Fox Zero. I really like Star Fox Zero for what it was. Like I know, like everyone's like, oh, it's another reinterpretation of Star Fox. We've had that with 64. That's trying to be too much like 64. Whatever. I don't care about that. Like the game for what it was really cool. I like how they find like before Star Fox 2 got released on the SNES Classic, this is where the walking R-Wings finally like appeared, was in this game. And I kind of didn't mind like the gyro wing or whatever, the helicopter, like the small copter, whatever vehicle was. I like that. And like the Landmaster segments were really fun as well. I actually thought those were really good looking. And I know a lot of people criticize this game because it just seems super generic and empty and whatever, but Star Fox is supposed to be a game that you can complete pretty quickly, and it's more about getting your high scores, stuff like that. And I felt like it was unfairly criticized for that. And like I love the redesigns of Team Star Fox. Yeah, it would have been nice to continue the story after the events of the original Star Fox or Star Fox 64, whatever reboot, whatever version you want to call it. But hey, it's still a fun game. You can find it for cheap. Came with Star Fox Guard, which is a thing. You can play that too. It's not that great, but it's if you find a copy of Star Fox Zero, you'll probably find a copy of Star Fox Guard. So Star Fox Zero is really underrated, I guess, in my opinion.
You're just saying that because we bought like 30 copies of it to pay for our Switch.
Yeah, and I have 2 sealed copies of Star Fox Guard that I am saving. Maybe they'll be worth a lot of money one day. Who knows?
Yep, because they're not for resale. So you couldn't use it as part of your exploit.
And my last one is Paper Mario Color Splash. Now, Paper Mario Sticker Star is hot garbage, and well, actually, we might talk about it in the 3DS Essentials. But Color Splash kind of redeemed Sticker Star in a way, because we thought Paper Mario was going downhill real fast after Sticker Star. And Color Splash, Huey was a great character. I really liked the visuals, honestly. Like that's another fantastic looking game. Like how you could see like the fibers in Paper Mario is really cool. The writing in that game is fantastic. The music's fantastic. The battle system leaves a little to be desired, and it's kind of annoying having to find paint every once in a while. But for what it is, it's a really, really good game, but it's still not quite what we want with Paper Mario. It's probably what Sticker Star could have been at its best, and it perfected that, if you could perfect that. It's still a good game. It's like a solid like 7 out of 10 game, I'd say, but it's an honorable mention. It's not like the best of the Wii U. And it was like the last really big game, if you could call it a big game, to come out on the system. So
It was definitely one of the last first-party games.
Yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
I have 2. I'm just going to say them really quick. I'm not going to go into them very much, but I don't actually have any intention of ever going back to play this game, nor did I enjoy my full experience with it. But I think you should mention Xenoblade Chronicles X because it is a very good game, and you could pour hours and hours and hours into that game. I just had a lot of gripes with it, especially after I poured like 50 hours into the game, and then like after achieving the like mechs, I found out how like easy it was to lose them, and I just had gripes with it. But in terms of just sheer RPG design, it's actually phenomenal, and it's done a lot for the genre. And a lot of people consider Xenoblade X to be like fundamentally one of the best RPGs, like action RPGs out there, because of the way that it handles like that dangerous world. It's basically like Xenoblade, the way it's structured, like the other two games, is when you get to a new area, all the enemies you can usually take down, but there's some enemies that are really strong that you don't want to go there, and that's how they keep you away from certain areas that are supposed to be high level areas. But Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they did this in the marketing, they marketed it as this is a very hostile world. They did the opposite. Basically, everything around you is like way over leveled and way too powerful. And the way you find out where you're supposed to go is you have to look for those small paths of things that you can actually kill. So like the only way, like you are navigating a very hostile world, and it's very cool. There's a lot of cool things to it. Just don't think too hard about the story. It's not great. And then my other honorable mention, because I had a great one day of playing this game on Wii U. And there was a lot of hype going into this game, and I know why we didn't play it for more than one day, and it's because of burnout. But we were hyped for Pokken Tournament, and it came out around my birthday, and I remember I had all of you guys over to play it on my birthday, and we played that game for like 12 hours straight, and then never played it again because we just wore ourselves out. Like we played too much of it on that first day that we just like were like, okay,
special controllers for it.
Yeah, but it was a cool game, like a cool concept, had a great roster. It was actually very, very fun. I liked the kind of like rock, paper, scissors it had going on within its structure, and it was really, really good. And I wish that we had stuck with it a little longer, but either way, really enjoyed that game. So that's my last honorable mention.
Really, guys? No one mentioned Mario Tennis Ultra Smash or Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival?
Oh, know what? I actually meant to mention Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Now, I don't consider Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival to be a fantastic game, but it definitely was quite the bargain for the $5 I paid for it.
I think I spent less than that.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun game for $5. Yep. Okay, so let's move to the deliberation. I'm just going to share my screen with both of you guys. Viewers at home, I won't be sharing my screen with you this time. This is more for us just to see, to remember what we have, but I'll read out what we have right now. So we have Nintendo Land, Super Mario Maker, Mario Kart 8, Hyrule Warriors, Splatoon, Pikmin 3, Bayonetta 2, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Super Mario 3D World, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Rayman Legends. So we have 11 games, and we need to find the 5 essentials. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Are we putting Nintendo Land on this?
Yes, I thought we already agreed that we are.
Okay, so Nintendo Land's there. So we have 10 games, 4 more spots. Let's hear some suggestions. What do you think should be on? What do you think should be off?
Cappy T should be on this list.
On the list?
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep that around.
I think the next, shoe-in for me, at least, is Super Mario Maker.
I agree.
That was a good one.
Okay,
like, if we are viewing it from the hop in a time machine and play the game during that time, yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Throwing it on. I don't think we need Rayman Legends and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, so I think we should just remove Rayman Legends, personally.
Yeah, because it's available on other platforms.
Well, yeah, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, I think, is just in general a better platformer.
But the Glues.
The Glues are cool. I will also say that as much as I'm a big Zelda fan, I think Hyrule Warriors was a big moment for Zelda. I don't know if it deserves to be here.
I agree. It had some great fan service.
Yeah, fan service, the character.
I was talking about all the levels and stuff, Jules. Come on, where else are you going to get to play as Darunia?
And I'm talking about fan service, the character Twilight Midna, because I am Zelda fan, and that character was there just to service me. I love Twilight Midna.
I see what you're doing there.
No, I legitimately, sorry to have this tangent, but I remember when they announced DLC, I was like, the only character I want is Twilight Midna, and she was the first DLC character announced, and I was so flabbergasted. I'm like, I did not actually think they would put her in. That's such a, they already have Midna in the game. Why would they put her human form in the game, and I thought it was so funny.
Honestly, I don't know what to cut. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
of
that's
these
same with
games,
me.
because all these are really good.
And most of them have been ported.
We can't consider that though.
Of these games, I gotta say Mario Kart 8. I think like that has to be
Yeah,
here.
I agree. I think Mario Kart should be here, 100%.
I think it should be on a different list, but
But it won't be considered for a different list.
I'm gonna be real right now. Let's to move away from Mario Kart 8 for a second. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, I don't think should be on it. And I'm not saying 3D World should be put on the list immediately, but like there are Captain Toad levels in 3D World that you can experience. So
You know what? That's how I was feeling too, because I forgot about 3D World, even though 3D World's the game that should have been listed here. And as soon as I remembered about 3D World, I was like, okay, Captain Toad probably shouldn't be on this list, even though I really like Captain Toad, because 3D World's the best of both worlds, and I think 3D World should be on this list.
I will make the argument that the levels in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker are better than the Captain Toad levels in Super Mario 3D World.
I don't even think you need to make that argument. I think that is objectively true. But I think that Super Mario 3D World offers more in terms of gameplay and is ultimately a better game. And it also just has Captain Toad in there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like best of both worlds.
I thought this was going to be like just a shoe in, like, yep, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done. But this is proving to be a little harder than I thought.
A little tricky. I mean, I personally think that I know it's a lot of Mario, but I do think Mario Kart and Super Mario 3D World should be on this list.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if you guys agree.
Well, I can definitely see that.
it bothers me how difficult this is.
Wii U maybe didn't have like the most games, but it does have like a dozen really stellar titles, and like it's tough because a lot of these games are like the peak of their series, right? They're either the peak of their series or they're so unique that it's hard not to mention them, right? So it's tough. But I don't know, like when I think about Wii U, I still like I don't care that it was ported. In my head, Super Mario 3D World is a Wii U game.
Would Bowser's Fury then be its own separate thing?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's enough. You can count it as its own separate thing, but like if we keep the rules that we have had since the beginning, all of these games, even though they've been ported to Switch, will not be eligible when we do Switch. So if you want them on a list, if you think they should be mentioned, it should be now. And I think 3D World is so unique to Mario, so different, and it worked. And it's like such a unique, like it's such a perfect multiplayer experience. I think it should be here. I think 3D World should be here.
And like I'm the only one here that's played the original Splatoon.
I played it.
I played it also.
Yeah, and I know you played it, but like I owned it. I played a lot of it. And the thing is with Splatoon, it's still a very similar experience to Splatoon 2. And I don't really like just because the series debuted on the Wii U, I don't think that's necessarily a argument that we should be valuing right now. Yes, it is an important game because it's the only like successful franchise launch to come out on the system, but that isn't relevant to our essentials list, really.
Yeah, and that's fair. I'm fine with that. Like I do think Mario Kart 8 should be here. I don't necessarily care if Splatoon 1 is or isn't. But then again, like I do think it's like so unique to the Wii U experience. Like again, like if we were looking at this in 2017, right? Like before Splatoon 2 came out, would you put Splatoon on this list?
Probably.
Yes, definitely.
And that's what I mean is like that's where I think I'm looking at it is like Splatoon 2 is better, but Splatoon 2 is going to be surpassed. Like, and Splatoon 1 will never, like, it will always be the first game, and it will always have debuted on the Wii U. And I feel like since we're looking at Wii U as like this time capsule, like I don't know, like part of me thinks maybe actually Splatoon should be here.
I'm now thinking about something, Jules, that we completely forgot to mention then.
Which is
Smash 4.
yes. But again,
Because of those
I know.
DLC moments. Those DLC
I
moments.
know.
Like,
There's a reason I didn't say Smash 4 though.
yeah.
For me. And like I know we're supposed to look at like we're looking at it as a time capsule as well, but like Smash 4 is one of those ones that I can't say Smash Wii U should be on here because Ultimate just literally is like a different game that completely destroys Smash Wii U. Like will never go back and play that game ever again. And even when it came out, while I still believe each Smash game is the best one when it comes out so far, Wii U was definitely one of those ones where I was like, I really like it, but there's so much missing.
Yeah, because the 3DS version it really held it back in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So it was a very flawed game. Like, and I do like those. There were some big moments. So Smash Wii U is tough because like I still hold that opinion of like Smash and Mario Kart. I feel like it's very difficult to like put them on if they're not the most recent one. Whereas that's why I guess I'm pushing for Mario Kart because I'm like I love Mario Kart and this is the best one. But like Mario Kart 8 will
also
inevitably
the most recent one too.
But this is the thing though, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe added the extra item that you can hold on to. It fixed the battle mode. It added more characters. Like it
ultimately it was a port, so it won't be eligible later. Like it's only going to be eligible.
Roster. Like it.
That's the way I look at it. Because it's not eligible later. Like so, if we're putting a Mario Kart game on one of these lists, it's happening now, right? Like Mario Kart 8 is Mario Kart 8, and whether you played as deluxe or you played it as the base game or the game with the DLC, like Mario Kart 8, in my opinion, is at this time the best the best Mario Kart game, and I do fully believe it will be surpassed. Like the second Mario Kart 9 drops, it likely will be better than Mario Kart 8. But that being said, it's like hard for me not to put Mario Kart here. But there's also a case for it not being here. Like it's up to you guys. My opinion isn't the only one.
I still like the idea of having Mario Kart 8 here just because like I feel like when eventually we do get to Switch Essentials, because Switch technically could still be going by the time we get around to it, right? Like I don't think I'm going to be putting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the said Switch list.
That's kind of my logic, and I know that this is bad that we're framing Wii U's list based off our Switch list, but like genuinely, Switch has such a strong library that even if you remove every single game that originated on Wii U from the running, it's still going to be hard to figure it out. And if you add in all those games, it's just going to be stupid hard. So that's why I'm like, anything that originated on Wii U, anything like Mario Kart 8 or Hyrule Warriors or Bayonetta, Donkey Kong, like let's keep it on Wii U.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's what we're debating here. So in that regard, that's why I think Mario Kart 8 should be here. Because Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart. And it's the only Mario Kart that's been able to sustain itself for this freaking long. Like, when did that game come out?
2014.
It is 2022 almost. And that game is still selling. That game still sells. It's 8 years later, and that game still sells. Like, and people still go back and play it.
And it was the best-selling game on Wii U, and it had an insanely high attach rate.
So, like, I don't know. Like, Mario Kart 8 is so good.
I mean, I'm fine with it being on, and now we're gonna have 4 games fighting for one spot.
I think we can do it. So Mario Kart 8, and are we removing Captain Toad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Splatoon, Pikmin 3, Bayonetta 2, Donkey Kong. I'm gonna go ahead and say like let's get rid of Bayonetta 2. I like Bayonetta 2, but I'm not gonna put it on this list. I'm not like I don't care about the genre enough, and it is phenomenal, and like a lot of people would put it in this list for them. And I acknowledge that, but for me, I wouldn't because I'm not that attached to Bayonetta. I think we have 3 different choices here. So this is my opinion. The only 2 I personally consider for the last spot are Splatoon because of the reasons I gave you before about it originating on Wii U, about how I feel like it does have like such an attachment to Wii U because it originated there and because now it's already becoming one of the fastest growing Nintendo IP in a long time. And it was exceptional when it was on Wii U, even though it's been surpassed, like it was still very exceptional. Or Pikmin 3, because in my opinion, Pikmin 3 is the best Pikmin game. And it was so long time coming and like it's such a well done game. And it might be controversial, but I just don't think Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is the best game in its series, and I love that game, and I think it's great, and I think it's one of the most fantastic platformers that exists. But don't think it's the best in its own series, and therefore I don't care to put it on this list.
I'm kind of in the same boat.
For me, I think Tropical Freeze is one of the best 2D platformers I've ever played. I think it's the best Donkey Kong Country game. But my rationale now for wanting to cut it is Pikmin 3 evolved the Pikmin series. Splatoon was a new IP. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze didn't really do anything that other Donkey Kong games didn't do. It looks really good, but gameplay wise, it's still exactly what you would think. Didn't push the envelope in that regard. This last game needs to match basically what our other 4 selections are offering and being that like really standout title. And I don't think Tropical Freeze fits that, unfortunately.
I think that as well. That's how I'm feeling about it. It's I think if you're just talking pure quality, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze might be here, but I feel like when we're talking essential, we're never talking just pure quality. Like, we're talking about something more, and we're talking about more like what represents these systems. And I just don't think Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze represents the Wii U the way that Splatoon or Pikmin 3 do, or the games that we already have there, right? Like, these 4 games that are there are like literally, like, in my opinion, like so attached to the Wii U name that you like Mario Kart 8 is the only one you can argue is like maybe more attached to Switch than Wii U, only because Switch is super successful and it sold more there, but it did originate on Wii U. Ultimately, it is a Wii U game that was successful in Wii U, so successful that Nintendo's like, this game is so good that instead of making a new Mario Kart game, we should literally just port this one because people will really, really like it, and they missed out on it, and it was really well designed. Like, honestly, with everything I've said, I think Splatoon should have that last spot. I feel like putting Pikmin 3 on there, I feel like it will feel too out of place with the other 4 we put. Like, I feel like Splatoon is that one. Like, if we're looking at the 5 pillars of Wii U, I think Splatoon is that 5th pillar. I don't think Pikmin 3 or Tropical Freeze are.
I'm glad we're in agreement because I didn't want to say anything against Pikmin because I know how badly you wanted Pikmin 2 on the GameCube Essentials. I know you're a huge Pikmin fan. I just didn't want to push you in that direction, but you've made that up yourself. So
I think that's, and I think I was always leaning toward that. Like, I do think Splatoon should be there. What do you think, Gino?
I'm down either way, honestly, because like I really enjoyed Pikmin, and I also enjoyed what I played of Splatoon. I'm happy.
Okay, well, I guess then if you're happy with Splatoon, we throw that on.
Splatoon has Krusty Scene.
Yep, Krusty Scene. So that is our Wii U time capsule kind of essentials. We have Nintendo Land, Super Mario Maker, Super Mario 3D World, Mario Kart 8, and Splatoon. And honestly, of every single list we've done in the essentials so far, I genuinely think this is arguably the best one. As much as I was like, I went into Wii U being like I don't care to do this one, but like the list we've come up with, I do think like best represents, even though it's heavy on Mario, like I do think like Wii U in general is just heavy on Mario. And I think
it relied a lot on their like Mario first party and stuff, because like even like there was no Zelda game outside of Breath of the Wild, and that was eventually pushed to a Switch game.
Yeah, and I think like the brilliance of Wii U, and I think that's why I think this represents it well, is Switch is all about nostalgia, all about harkening back to like the kind of classic kind of style of games. Like Switch is very much about what people have been asking for, which I'm sure we'll get to when we get to Switch. Whereas Wii U was, like I said, it was never about what people were asking for, and that was consistent with everything. Even in Smash Wii U, the characters we got in Smash Wii U were not the characters people were asking for. They were characters that were unique and different. And Nintendo's philosophy during Wii U with Iwata was like, we're not just going to give people the same stuff they're asking for. We're going to like come up with really unique new ideas. And Wii U put out a lot of cool games that were not what we were wanting, not what we were asking for, but now I can't imagine Nintendo without these 5 games. Like Mario Kart, less so, but like Splatoon, 3D World, Mario Maker, and Nintendo Land, like who would have known that those games would have existed, and not only existed but have been like incredible. So that brings us to the end of today's quest. If you liked what you heard today, hit that like, subscribe, or the follow button. If you want to contribute to the conversation, let us know in the comments what you think about the Wii U Essentials. What do you think we missed, or what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let us know any ideas for upcoming topics or quests, or just share your thoughts. Leave us a comment, and don't forget to give us some of those bonus game icebreaker questions too. We'll see you next time at the Hub World. And Matteo, would you like to log us out with our catchphrase?
Yes. I like that, by the way. Log us out. We got to keep that. Microsoft, make a new Banjo game. See you later, everyone. Thanks for listening.